Hello everyone. So this is the second day in the daily news analysis. Today we will discuss about the 9th August 2024 important current affairs. Welcome to Plutus IS. I am CS Sonali Jindal. Here are the topics to be discussed. But before that, I want to show you one example that can be used in the GS4 ethics. In this, Buddhadev Bhattacharya recently died, and he is considered to be the epitome of the probity in public life, probity in governance. He is considered to be the example of that, and you can use this example in the GS4 ethics paper. And GS4 ethics paper, it has a syllabus called probity in governance. I will briefly explain what is the probity. If you will make a graph, like first is honest person, like who just can't speak lie. He speaks the truth. That is the honest person. Then comes the integrity. He is the person who keeps all of the high standards and follows his standards at any of the cost. And then comes a probity. So basically probity includes highest of the standards, and it is way above the honesty and integrity only, and it is mentioned in your GS4 ethics syllabus. You can use this example. Now moving to our today's discussion, these are the topics that will be covered. First will be the Bach will. It was in news recently throughout. And next, India and Bangladesh. I have already discussed in the yesterday's discussion about the India and Bangladesh. Whatever happened in the Bangladesh, we have discussed, but there are new articles on it. We will briefly see them. Thereafter, we have discussed about the yen carry trade in 8th August, and there is article what will be the implication of it on the financial markets and the monetary policy. We will also see what is basically monetary policy and how the RBI is maintaining now repo rate. Then comes the just transition article. It is on the climate change. As you know, environment is in your GS3, and environment questions are being asked again and again by the UPSC. There is an article on the just transition that is linked to the climate change. We will see it. Thereafter, we will discuss Google antitrust case. Recently, the Indian startups has also filed a case in the CCI, Competition Commission of India. After that, as usual, we will take up some example for the mains. Also, we have already discussed the GS4 ethics example. Now, first article on the Bach will. Basically, Bach will has become the most contentious issue now in the parliament. You can see there are various articles are coming on it. We will have to discuss what is basically a Bach board. So Bach bill or Bach act actually regulates the Bach boards, but you have to know what is Bach boards. Bach board is a legal entity that is basically managing or overseeing the properties that could be linked to the mosques of the Muslims. It also regulates the property relating to the schools, hospitals, mosques, and whatever the properties are linked to the charitable purposes or the religious purposes. This is being managed or overseen by the Waqf board. So it is an important body as it is managing the properties. If we see the number of properties held by all of the Waqf boards of the India, this will be the number. If I would rank them, this will be the third land honor after railways and defense. So major land is owned by them. And the other thing is who controls the Waqf board. Basically, Waqf board is basically seen by the Central Waqf Council, and that comes in the Ministry of Minority Affairs under the Government of India. So you should know what is the Waqf board, and this is being regulated under the Waqf will. Now we are coming to the issue why the Waqf will is being brought. Because if any property is claimed by the Waqf board, if it says, okay, this is my property, this is a Waqf property, then one cannot challenge that in the court of the law. And there are many pending disputes in the courts relating to these properties. So the disputes is being rising. That's why there is a need of amendment. What are the other needs of amendment? There are unrestrained powers given to the Waqf board under the act that came in 1995, and thereafter I have already told you this is the third largest landowner. And the next is there is a lack of transparency. Basically, they don't tell about any of their receipts or expenditure. And one of the objective for the Waqf board is to work for the welfare of the poor Muslims. But actually, the benefit is not given to them. And in fact, if they get that property, they can sell it for their gains. There are undue gains that has been gained by them by the transfer of the properties. And there is no representation. It is not having the representation to the poor Muslims and the women. This representation needs to be given under the new bill. And then I have already told you there are pending disputes and claims on the properties. So basically, there is a need of the bill. If you have already understood the need of amendment, then you would understand what will be the objectives of the coming bill. To bring the transparency, to give the representation to the women and the poor Muslims. So proposed amendments, although there are around 40 amendments have been made to the 1995 Act, but we will discuss some of the most important amendments therein. First is from the Waqf Act, the name has been changed to the Unified Waqf Management, Empowerment, Efficiency and Development Act. Thereafter, there will be inclusion of the 2 women in each Waqf board. As I have already told you, it is not having the representation to the woman. It does not represent the rights of the woman. Next, representation will be given to the 2 Lok Sabha members and 1 Rajya Sabha member. And there will be creation of database under which Waqf properties will be registered. For this, power has been given to the district collector. After the database will be made, the problem of disputes or the claims on the properties will be resolved. And there will be a mandatory verification for all the claims on the properties. In fact, if there is already a claim or the counter claim has been going on by the Waqf board, on that also this verification will be applicable. So, considering all the Waqf board or the Waqf bill amendments, you need to see what is the relevance for your exam. It can be used as an example in the GS1. There is a topic called secularism. You can mention about basically what are the issues of in secularism, Indian secularism. There you can mention this as the example. And the other debatable topic is UCC, Uniform Civil Code. That is basically saying there should be a uniform law to regulate all of the religions, their personal affairs to be regulated by the uniform law. That could be marriage, divorce laws and other relating to the property or hierarchy rules of the properties should be regulated by the uniform law. Now you have to prepare whether it should be brought or not. As per Law Commission, it is said it is neither feasible or not desirable. Uniform Civil Code needs a huge discussion and debate to be brought because it will bring loads of disputes between the communities of the section. It is very difficult to take away their rights and their will. So, Uniform Civil Code to be brought or not, you have to prepare it for the mains, and there also you can mention this example. Then second thing is it could be asked or written in the Indian secularism. They might link this with the secularism. And the other topic that was in news relating to the secularism, there is a basically ban on the hijab and burqa in the college. it was going on news since last 2 to 3 years, and Supreme Court is going to give the verdict on this, and these are to be mentioned. And there also I want to mention about the India versus France secularism. In France, they basically have banned the use of turbans or any of the religious symbols in the public. But in India, we actually give the right to celebrate their religious affairs in the public. This is Indian secularism. So there is a difference between Indian and Western secularism. They have already asked in the GS1 paper, and this example, basically this has been banned in the college or schools. It has been said there should be a uniform code or the uniform basic rules in the any of the institution. They can regulate it on that basis. Basically Supreme Court or the High Court has basically upheld this ban. Now coming to the next topic, we have already discussed about whatever is happening in the Bangladesh, how the quota reform movement basically converted into a anti-government movement and then led to the resignation and fled by Sheikh Hasina, PM of the Bangladesh, and thereafter we have said Muhammad Yunus is going to take the oath. And its article they have mentioned what will be the priorities and difficulties before the coming government. We have discussed Muhammad Yunus is the pioneer of the microfinance. So microfinance, the reform has been brought by Muhammad Yunus. But today we will see what should be the goal of India to tackle this problem. There is another article also that is saying instability in India's neighborhood is a concern. So there is a concern as there is a neighborhood instability. As we have seen the Sri Lankan crisis, we have seen the Rohingya crisis in the Myanmar, we have also seen the Afghanistan Taliban issue. So there is an instability in the neighborhood. Due to this discussion, there could be direct question asking about the India's neighborhood, how Indian government could maintain relations with the India's neighborhood. And there is a neighborhood first policy of the government and how the Indian government will tackle this. You can write this answer and you can share this in our comment section. We will try to evaluate that. So you have to write how India will tackle the Indians' neighborhood relations in the instability and critical situation. There I will give you some brief idea. Here you can take different countries, you can mention the issues there with each of the countries and try to give some collective way forward. As I have said, Atal Vajpayee ji have said, Indian government can change the history. We can change our friends, but we can't change our neighbors. That's why neighborhood first policy is important. We can change our history, but not our geography. That way, this is why neighborhood stability is important. And in fact, this can lead to problem of increase in organized crime. As we have seen, Bangladesh has been involved in the human trafficking, drugs trafficking. That's why this can lead to increase in the organized crimes and there could be a refugee crisis in Bangladesh as well. So it can be linked to GS3. I have already told you in yesterday's lecture, border management. Specific question can be framed on the Bangladesh and India border. And which force is operating there? There is BSF that is facing the problem to manage the India-Bangla border. So it is linked to internal security, and the second thing is it is linked to GS2 neighborhood policy. Then there is an article, change in Bangladesh, the challenge for India. In brief, we have already discussed in yesterday's lecture, like what will be the challenge for the India. We have divided the dimensions into political, social problems and economic problems, as there will be decrease in the trade between India and Bangladesh. And now it is discussing how the scenario is linked to the Maldives, Myanmar. They have created the basically similarity with these countries. For example, in the Myanmar, we have seen there was a refugee crisis, and in Maldives, the Prime President Ibrahim Mohammed has fled, and there was an opposition party to come to the power. And they have said, as in these scenarios, it is very difficult for the country, for the incoming government to maintain maintain a stability and peace. So it will be difficult for the Muhammad Yunus, the coming PM of the Bangladesh, and the army to bring a peace with the people. What should be the strategy of the India? India has to maintain balance with the Bangladesh army and then the PM Muhammad Yunus, and then with the people. As the army has said, Indian government should maintain a humble relationship with the Bangladeshi people. They should look towards the Bangladeshi people. Indian government has to maintain a balance with these three. And in the coming articles, if anything comes new, we will also discuss that. For now, you have to basically analyze this topic for the GS2 and GS3. Now moving to the next topic, yen carry trade. I've already explained in the yesterday's lecture what is the yen carry trade. I will summarize little bit, like if somebody is getting the loan at a lower interest rate and investing at the higher interest rate. So basically, if you get the loan at a low interest rate, say 5%, and you get the investment opportunity where you will get the 10%. So 5% will be your profit. Now there is an article, as you must have heard, Japanese government has increased their interest rates. Now I want to explain you one thing. Interest rate works different for the different people. Like for example, for the investor, like who wants to invest in any of the country, what he will consider, interest rate should be higher or low? Please try to write in the comment section. I want to see your view on it. So investor will want higher interest rate, as if he will get the higher interest rate, he will get the higher returns. On the other side, if there is a borrower who is raising the loan, he must be wanting the lower interest rate, as he has to pay that interest rate. So you have understood one thing, borrower will want the lower interest rate and investor will want higher interest rate in any of the economy. What was the scenario in Japan? Japan has maintained basically low interest rate for the long period of time. So what was happening in Japan? Japanese people get a loan at lower interest rate from the Japan. Now they will not basically invest in the Japan because there is low interest rate in the economy. What they were doing, they were going to the Asian markets or the Western markets for the investment. Why? Because to get the higher returns, as there were high interest rate. So you must have understood this topic. This is called as yen carry trade. So basically yen is Japanese currency. They are carrying their money from the Japan at the lower interest rate and then investing in the other countries to get the higher interest rates and the higher returns. This was happening. This is called as carry trade maybe, or the yen carry trade. I hope you have understood this topic. Now, why this is in news? As Japanese government has kept the low interest rate for the long period of time, now Japan has increased their interest rates. Now, due to this, in the stock market, investors are basically withdrawing their money to invest in Japan. So this is called, there is a huge outflow from the Asian markets. So there could be a recession in the Asian markets due to this, and already we are seeing recession in the US. Warren Buffett, the huge investor, has withdrawn a huge money from the stock market, and there is a selling pressure on the stock market. This way the investment will be lower in the coming days. And you have understood, due to the increased interest rate by the Japan, there is a selling pressure on the stock market and there is a withdrawal of money of the investment from the Asian market. This is going back to the Japan. In fact, for your homework, I want you to read about the taper tantrum. Read about it. It has been seen in 2012 and in COVID-19, and UPSC has framed the prelims question over this, how to maintain this. And in fact, this way foreign currency outflow is also there. So there will be two of the impacts. In the, basically, if any of the economy increase their interest rate, there could be outflow of the money. You have understood it. In response, there could be a chance RBI or any of the central bank of other economies, they have to increase their interest rates to stop those investors to go out of the market. So the basic concept was, you should understand why the high interest rate is wanted by the investor and why the low interest rate is wanted by the borrower. So in response to the Japanese increased interest rates, other central banks will also increase their interest rates. Now, till now, you must have understood. Now, moving further, how we will link this to the monetary policy. I have already told you what is the link with the financial market. Now, if there is an interest rate increasing interest rate by the central bank, basically whether there is an increase or decrease in interest rate by the central bank, it is regulated by the monetary policy. So what is RBI or any of the central bank is doing? They are basically regulating the money supply. What is the money supply there? Like, what is the money in circulation in any of the economy, that is being regulated by the central bank by the monetary policy. We have understood, if any of the central bank increase the interest rate, then the other economies also have to increase interest rate if they want to stop that outflow of the foreign currency. So increase in interest rate by the central bank or the decrease, it is regulated by the monetary policy. There is a scenario, if interest rate is increased, you have to understand, please focus for 1 minute, you will understood one of the most important topic. For example, interest rate is increased, it means there is decrease in money supply. How there is a decrease in money supply? Because the interest rate has been increased. It means there will be costly loans. I have already told you borrowings should be made at low interest rate. So increased borrowing cost. Increased borrowing cost, it means there will be less money supply, less money with the public. You can think of the scenario, if you have more money, you will obviously go to the market to spend. There will be more demand, but if you have less money, then there will be less demand in the economy. If there is a less demand, then what the rule says, there will be less supply. Why? Why there will be less supply? Because producers will not produce as there is a less demand. But obviously it takes time. There will be a huge time lag between these, but the short term goal would be it would decrease the inflation. As less money with the public, they will demand less. So there is the inverse relationship with the demand and the price. You know already. Obviously, if there are 10 people to buy one thing, they will be ready to pay more. So with the decreased money supply, there will be less inflation in the short term, but in the long term, it could impact the less supply and less growth. That's why it is always said for the monetary policy, there is basically huge dilemma to maintain between the inflation and the growth. But in the monetary policy in India, we are targeting the inflation. That's why inflation targeting has been given to the Monetary Policy Committee. You need to read about the Monetary Policy Committee. It has been asked in the prelims. That way, you must have understood the whole scenario. I hope I have tried to summarize all the whatever is happening in the very simple terms. You need to understand first what is yen carry trade, then yen carry trade due to the Japanese increased interest rate, how the outflow is happening and it could impact the Asian markets. Then what we have understood, it will have impact on the monetary policy and how the monetary policy will try to make a balance between the inflation and the growth. I hope everything is clear to you. Now there is an article on the repo rate. Now, why this is linked to this? Why there is a discussion on the repo rate? Because Japanese government has increased their interest rate. So, meanwhile, our central bank also have to respond to it to maintain a balance between the growth and inflation. Now, coming to new article, it is on climate change. The heading says the moment for the just transition litigation to take wing. This article as such is not important to you, but the concept of just transition, it is important. Actually, just transition, it says if there are benefits or any of the burdens due to decarbonization, these burdens or the benefits needs to be distributed equally. I hope you have understood what I have said. This says like whatever the burdens or the benefits of the decarbonization, these should be distributed equally to all of them. It says like if there is a burden, for example, if any of the carbon producing industries closed, then those people employed in those industries, they will be in the loss as they will lose their jobs. And that's why the discussion on the just transition has started in 1970s, like transition between the carbon economies to the non-carbon economies. This should be the just transition. Just includes the equity and equality, so the distribution of benefits and the burden should be equal. This is the concept of just transition. You can link it to there is a concept of equal but differentiated responsibility. Basically, there is a UN body on the climate change, that is called as UNFCCC, that says in the basically carbon there is a equal but differentiated responsibility of the developed and developing economies. So what we are saying, although there is a equal responsibility of the developed and developing economies, but it should be differentiated. For example, if we are saying the methane emission should not be there, but for the developing economies to cope up with that change, there should be a more time lag for the developing economies. If the developed economies are stopping this production from the 2024, then the timeline for the developing economy should be from the 2040. What could be the scenario? That way, we are discussing about the funds also in the Paris Agreement. If you have already read about it, it's okay, but if you have not, please go and read about the Paris Agreement. There also we are saying developed economies should contribute more for the climate change. There is a fund has been created for the Paris Agreement, but developed economies have not contributed to that. What is the concept behind it? This is the equal but differentiated responsibility. Just transition is linked to that. So we are tackling to the equity in transition. Next topic says guilty on search antitrust case against the Google. It was in news. You have to understand one thing. Recently, antitrust case verdict has come in US against the Google. Thereafter, our Indian startups has also filed a case in CCI. Now, this is the body that has been created in the Competition Commission Act 2003, Competition Commission of India. So it is a statutory body that deals with to regulate the competition in our economy and the markets. It basically regulates the abuse of the dominant position by the various companies. And now we will understand what are the issues raised by the Indian startups. You know, like whenever we open any topic, if we want to search any topic, what is the main basically comes behind or us? Our dominant user is Google search. So what we use whenever we buy any iPhone or any smartphone, we get pre-installed apps of the Google. We get a Google Play Store, Google search engine, and in fact, when we search any of the topic, Google gives its preference to its own services, like for example self-preferencing its own services over the Indian startups, and that's why it has been raised by the Indian startups. And in fact, they have said their reliance on the advertisement. So basically, the majority of the revenue of Google coming from the advertisement, that is around 97%. Due to this, there is basically not a fair competition between different companies, as they are bidding more and more. Like if you bid more price to give the ad, then your company or the basically search will be given preference over the others. And other thing is, it is abusing the market dominant position, and there is also keyword bidding system. So in the ads, basically in the ads, it works on the keywords, and there is a bid for the particular keyword, and that way if they obviously fight or compete for the particular keyword, the benefit will be of the Google. And there is a huge cost on advertisement for the Indian startups, and in fact in that also it is basically giving the preference to its own services. So Google, we have understood how it is basically against the competition law of the particular countries. Now what we need is the digital competition bill. I have already told you there is a Competition Commission Act under which we have CCI. but we have to see whether the present act is able to tackle the digital competition or not. So recently digital competition bill 2024 is on the news, and this has to be brought to tackle these particular digital tax or tax companies to tackle the advertisement made by the Amazon, Flipkart, or the Google to bring the fair and equal competition in the economy, and that is required to boost the growth. Now, in the last, there comes the example for the mains. Heading says Karnataka may lose out on 15th Finance Commission grants if local body polls not held soon. In the as the news in itself is not important, but with the heading, the one topic of GS2 should come to your mind. This is GS2. Issue of devolution to the local governments. So basically, local self-government is specifically mentioned in your syllabus, and there are various previous year questions that has been asked on it. If we see in the local government, there is a problem of functions, functionaries, and funds. To obviously empower the local bodies, there should be a regular elections there, but to basically motivate them, it is dependent on the state governments. What is the problem there? Like for the power devolution to the local governments, it is basically the power has been given to the state governments, and whether the state government is basically performing that responsibility or not, this is the problem. Here the Karnataka will lose the grants if the local body polls are not held soon. So what we are using here, this is competitive federalism. We are competing the states on the 15th Finance Commission grants for the particular reforms. If it will not held these elections, then it will not get those funds. You can categorize it for the competitive federalism or for the fiscal federalism. So to get those funds, there should be proper elections in the local government. That way the problem of functionaries will be resolved, as the proper elections will held and there will be the bodies to work in the local governments. I hope you will be able to use this example, and this way you can also basically withdraw the examples for on yourself from the newspaper and try to keep reading syllabus and previous year questions again and again, so that you can maximize the use of the newspapers. And in our whole throughout the discussion, we try to keep relevant to the exam for the prelims, mains, and interview. I hope this discussion will help you. We will meet in next at 10:40 a.m. same time for the 10th August.